Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a retro review for the film The King of Comedy from 1982. This movie is rated PG with a runtime of an hour and 49 minutes. Uh, all right, PG. I guess this was before the the restructure in the ratings, maybe. This, as a recording of this video, we have a Rotten Tomato score of 89% for the critics. The audience has a 90% and a letterbox average rating of 4.2. This makes perfect sense. This is a Martin Scorsese film that, although maybe not a critical success when it came out originally, has definitely garnered a financial success when it came out. It's definitely become it was always a critically acclaimed film. Let me give you a quick synopsis of this. In this film, Rupert Pupkin, played by De Niro, is a failure in life but a celebrity in his own mind, hosting an imaginary talk show in his mother's basement. When he meets actual talk show host Jerry Langford, he's convinced it will provide his big break, but Langford isn't interested in the would-be comedian. Undaunted, Pupkin effectively stalks Langford, and when that doesn't work out, he kidnaps him, offering his release in exchange for a guest spot on Langford's TV show. As I mentioned, this movie is directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Paul D. Zimmerman, and it stars Robert De Niro as Rupert Pupkin. So De Niro and Scorsese, all-time great collaborators. Also, Jerry Lewis plays Jerry Langford. So you would think it's not a big step to fill into that, but after his performance, actually, you can see that Jerry Lewis actually went all out with this. We also have Diane Abbott as Rita Keene, and Sandra Bernhard as Masha, who is another Marsha is another um, uh, person that's kind of really obsessed with Jerry Langford for her own means. So let's start with the more technical aspects of the film. Look, this film is very well made. There's a few things that I feel like have changed and maybe even evolved in Scorsese's repertoire of like filmmaking, but you can see the seeds of it there. Whether it comes to the long extended credits intro with a still of like these hands on the window after something kind of messed up just happened in the film. There's never and nothing ever gets too violent. This is all more about finding that tone of being uncomfortable and cringy, which I don't even know if that was a concept back then. But it's just things that don't make you like. The more you kind of watch it and stare at it and live in this world, the more you feel that discomfort. And I think like the film does that very successfully. Um, I love the way that this was never a bleak film or a dark film and a gritty film, and the fact that it looked like just Manhattan in 1982, New York in 1982, like the world as we lived it in that time. um, but there are some still that just make you feel very uneasy, but never had to rely on, like I said, any violent imagery or anything like that. It was just more of the societal disconnect. Yeah, so that's really interesting. I love that this film kind of stays in it stands the test of time when it comes to some of that stuff, because society at the core hasn't like all those aspects haven't really changed, right? Chasing celebrity culture and trying to kind of weasel your way in there, looking for the easy way to break in, like all those things. Although they have changed in how people try to obtain them, they haven't changed in the fact that it's core. So that was really well done. um, Robert De Niro delivers. I First of all, he talks probably like for 90% of the film. In my letterbox review, I put in Robert De Niro went all out. I can't believe he wouldn't just shut the fuck up. Who would have thought that he would talk for this long? So it's crazy how much dialogue. I haven't really dove deep into any videos about this film or anything like that, because I wanted to shoot my review first without bringing in any cursory knowledge from somebody else. But I would love to see how De Niro prepared for this role. How much of the lines were like. It feels to me like a lot of this stuff was really ad lib. One really fun detail is that Rupert Pupkin is not a down on his luck character at all. I mean, he has a job, he wears suits, he has a really interesting haircut and a overall a pretty friendly and approachable demeanor. And it's not only until you're there having a conversation with him for more than 5 minutes that's where you really start to find the like all the little flaws and the little imperfections in this like facade that he's trying to pull in. I think his mustache choice is very disarming. His haircut also very disarming, and the choice that he has in suits also just great work by the costuming team there. So, you know, technically this film is just really well done. I'm trying to think of anything that I didn't really appreciate, but overall, like everything is just part of it. Also, this film is under 2 hours, which I'm sure an hour and 48 minutes was a long time then, but I can't believe they packed in this much story. And then also we have great performances. Like I say, Jerry Lewis really transformed. I'm not the biggest Jerry Lewis fanatic or even know much of like what he's done. I kind of know just because he is a celebrity in the real world and the kind of a icon when it comes to like the comedy. And he always talking about the roast and Jerry Lewis, like all that stuff always kind of comes up. Diane Abbott, Rita, probably the least the character with the least amount of screen time, but when she's there, like it's so well utilized, right? I think she plays the role of this person that Rupert knows from high school and is trying to impress. But is he trying to impress her because he likes her, or is he trying to impress her because uh, having the admiration of somebody that at some point maybe he liked or wanted to be romantically involved with, that will give him that boost of self-esteem, that prestige that he's looking for. And then we also have Sandra Bernhard, who does a great job as Masha, who is this, like I said, she is also obsessed with Jerry Langford for very different reasons, and she just plays that very straightforward. Um, I will say the one thing that was kind of interesting was that it looks like she's a person that has money or comes from money. Uh, and sometimes it's hard to tell in these older films, like there wasn't such a big well, there was a big disparity, but it's not like when people were rich back then, they weren't like it wouldn't show up as like how people that are rich, like she doesn't act like somebody that's from Succession or something. So I don't know, before I go too deep into that rabbit hole. But yeah, she looks like she comes from money, so I don't know why she would have, I don't know, like it just feels like her character very weirdly has this obsession with this individual. And then even when she has him, eventually when they kidnap him, she doesn't even know what to do with him. Like she's the reason that he kind of ends up getting away with like or getting free or whatever. So that was very very interesting to see how that played out. Like these people that are obsessed with celebrities don't really have a plan once they get there. If they were ever to get there for whatever reason, it looks like they don't have a plan. So that's very interesting commentary as well. Um, all right, let's talk more about Richard Pumpkin because he is our at the in the middle of our of everything, right? He is kind of like in the movie and in his own head, he's the star of a show. He's the world revolves around him. I He blurs the lines between reality and death, the reality and dreams. Very, it's so subtle that it's hard to keep up. Like one thing that I'm not even sure of, like, is his mom even alive? Like, we hear his mom yell at him in the basement, but then in his little comedy thing that he does at the end, he mentions that he killed her like 9 years ago, or she died like 9 years ago. Like, so is his mom yelling at him a thing that's really happening? Is she even alive? I don't know. Like, that was weird. Like, all those little subtle things of like, what is reality? What is this guy imagining? Like, it's very, very interesting. So yeah, like I said, Robert De Niro just fantastic performance, especially when he's with Jerry. Like his demeanor changes, and he begins as this like calm guy that's really trying to be friendly. But as things start to not go his way, like his demeanor kind of changes a little bit. He's a little bit less polite. He starts getting a little bit aggressive, never violent, but definitely more antagonistic. And that's just such a great part of De Niro's performance. I think a lot of us may be used to seeing Robert De Niro as this like really tough guy, like from his other movies like Taxi Driver or The Irishman. If you for something more recent, even in comedies like Meet the Fockers, he still plays like this tough dude, right? Um, so it was very interesting to see him in this more like of a nerdy underdog type of role that evolved into this person. So it's also very cool to kind of go back and see how some things in society, like security in buildings and like technology and the celebrity world, even just subtle things like a payphone and just life in Manhattan every day, how that all those things from 1982, it's kind of fun to explore, right? That's all even before my time. So really cool to kind of see. Uh, Also very interesting like that in those times, like if you were well presented like in a suit or like, and you kind of acted confident and like you belonged in somewhere, you could really get away with a lot. I think we see a lot of films that a lot of the con jobs or things like that that happen from contemporary films from the 80s and even prior. They kind of, you can't really do that anymore. I think people are so mistrusting nowadays, and probably a lot of the time for good reason. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that part of society has also evolved. But yeah, if you're gonna watch this, watch it definitely for De Niro's performance. Everything else just kind of that De Niro and the team bring along. It's very very cool to see. Yeah, I really enjoy this film. I watched it because my friends and colleagues over at the I Read Comic Books podcast for the movie club that showed up, the latest one. They actually did this film because obviously the connection to Joker and from 2019. So if you want to hear more about this film, make sure to check out their latest episode. It is on Patreon. I'll put the link in the description. They have a fantastic conversation about this. Paul, Mike, and Brian just really go all out into diving deep into the King of Comedy, and even have a little bit of a discussion on its relationship to the Joker film. I could go into a lot of the Joker stuff as well, but I'm just reviewing this as a standalone film. Maybe I'll do a separate video of like how these two films are related, or maybe once I go back and watch some of the other films that inspired Joker, like Taxi Driver and stuff like that. But if you've seen this film, let me know what you think about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.